And 13 and 14 as well. Very important to time the turn in. I'll talk about those a little bit more as I move over to the second key to this racetrack, which is when you turn in, you got to deal with the front end and traction over off-camber corners and crests. So where are they? I'll show you guys now where they are. Off-camber and crests. It couldn't be worse, guys. Both of those are really not helpful. Off-camber and crests, 13, 14, 16, and 7 as well. It's where the car goes over a crest, like I'll explain what that is to you now. Let's say, for example, should we talk about crests, or I'll talk about camber in the first instance. Okay, so let's discuss off-camber. Let's say you're a man here or a woman looking at this corner, but you're on the ground, like looking like your stomach is on the ground and you're looking at turn 13. That's the best way to appreciate the off-camber. And what you'll see as you look ahead at turn 13 is the curb and the apex here, and then you see the track fall away like that. I'm exaggerating I'm exaggerating for effect so you can understand it. If I draw it more realistic, be like the curb and then the track kind of does something like that. And so the curb is usually the apex and the highest point. Actually, there's a bit of a secret there because it's flat-ish. And the further you are away from the apex and the curb, actually sometimes the steeper the gradient gets and you fall away. So we're going into the page here, guys, into the screen, going around this corner. If you're on your stomach looking at turn 13, that's what you'll see. So that's what off-camber looks like. In terms of crests, let's say you're over here looking at the start-finish line that way, then what you'll see is the road go like that. It doesn't happen, obviously, on the start-finish straight. It's in the areas I've highlighted. I'm just showing you what a crest is. It happens, the crests and off-camber at these parts of the racetrack. Now, these two things combined are a pain in the backside for a racing driver. Off-camber and a crest. What happens is when the car goes over this crest, it wants to rotate forward, vertical load comes off the back. Excuse me, it unloads the rear. That's annoying. So we don't want that. And then off camber, you've got the cornering force going that way. See? And then you've got gravity going that way as well. And they add up to just want to push this car off the racetrack. So like the tires have got to deal with additional, you've got less vertical load as well because the car's on a bit of a tilt. So that both of these are really annoying phenomena. But there's a way you can deal with them. I think it presents an opportunity for us and presents an opportunity for the drivers. I'll show you guys a couple of images as well, just so it's not all whiteboard stuff. So you can look at some real life stuff. Give me a sec. So this is how it looks. This is an off-camber shot. This is Leclerc in, I want to say 23. You can see, like, we're almost like what I said, like you get on the ground and you can appreciate it a little bit better. You see how like the car's like falling over to our left, the car's right, these two tires. And like if you were to drop a tennis ball at the apex, it would roll, it would roll away. And that's not helpful. Dealing with that as a driver, like I say, is annoying. I'll tell you guys some keys. Where Latifi crashed, the famous crash in 21, same, that was turn 14. I'll show you guys on the whiteboard. That was this one here, turn 14. If I go back to the picture, you can kind of see the camber a little bit as well. If you were to drop a tennis ball here, it would probably roll down that way or roll back this way because it's a crest as well. So it's going to roll away from the apex and down. It's literally the worst corner type as well. So why do these corners hurt so much? Well, like I say, off-camber punishes roll. So the cornering force is in the same direction as gravity. So it adds lateral load and takes away from your vertical load. And the crests unload the rear, like I say. So how to drive around these corners? Well, let's start with crests. One of the things you can do is straighten your hands over the crest. Just go over gently and you don't want to really ask the car for much over the crest. Don't ask it for throttle. Don't ask it for traction. Don't ask it for steering. Don't ask it to shift. Don't ask the car too much over the crest. Just straighten your hands over the crest and point towards the exit. So when we get here in these two corners, when you come through here over the crest, just try to go over it. Don't touch anything. Let the car just go over. When it resettles over here, then go for throttle. So there's like, I've drawn that really bad, but there's like going to be a window at the crest here where you just don't do anything. Let me just highlight that as like a red zone. Just don't do anything in over that crest in that area. And so maybe you can attack and drive up to it and then throttle after it. But in the middle there, yeah, you don't ask the car for too much. And that's probably the best way to deal with crests. Just be patient. With off-camber, you want to go through the key moment of lateral load transfer with the platform as flat as possible. So like we said before, roll is the biggest problem. And so there's a lot of things you can play with in order to keep the car's platform as stable as possible. You play with when you turn in, how much you turn in, how fast you turn in, the line you take, driver tools, of course, and diff, engine braking and so on, and the car's setup as well. So I'll show you guys on the whiteboard how you can play around with those things. So I've drawn it over here. This is a very traditional, very typical line through these corners. Remember, 13 and 14 are our off-camber corners. And there's a massive problem with this line. Again, guys, it always comes back to line. So keep that in mind. It always just pops up, doesn't it, every now and then. So these are our off-camber corners. The problem with this is it's a late turn in. Starts from about there. Like if you just have a look at this line, when the steering starts to be turned into 13, it's probably from around there, right? The rest of it, it's pointing that way, and you start to turn in from there. So that's a late turn in, trying to take a later apex that we've highlighted in red here. But the problem is because it's late, it needs to be harder, and you got most of the roll. And then with that off-camber situation, pushing the car that way, it's just really the wrong way to take the corner. The best way is to initiate the steering slightly earlier. Try to get your rotation done a little bit downstream of this camber. So you've got your camber problem here. Try not to do your turning that much over here. Remember, we've got the crest to deal with as well. So if possible, rotate the car earlier while it's still on the more favorable camber upstream. And if you turn in earlier, you can start to straighten the steering wheel on the curb. That's lovely. That's exactly what you want to do. With your line, stay as close to the apex as possible. We drew that before. We said that it's here and the track falls down there. So stay as close to this as possible. Try not to go around, go over the curb. That's more helpful. With your rate of hands as well, try to weight the outside front progressively. Again, you're trying not to overload the outside front of the car because you've got gravity and cornering force pulling that way. So if you can just be super smooth, super gentle with your hands, the rate of steering, turn in gently, turn less, turn earlier, turn less, turn slowly. And yeah, try not to be adding lock in the worst part of the corner where the camber is. So what does that look like in terms of line? You're essentially going to initiate the steering earlier. And then here, you can see here, once you're there, you can pretty much open your hands and just point the car straight out like that. I can even draw like a straight line there because you've started to initiate the turn back there. Remember in red where we drew before, where the turn was starting to initiate. Let me just clean up a little bit here. Red started to initiate the turn there. So you can see it's slightly earlier. It's less. When you get on the curb, bang, open your hands, don't touch the pedals. When the car resettles and the suspension recompresses, bang, that's when you can go for the throttle. And you're going to do the exact same thing in 14. Which is here, start to initiate the turn earlier, open your hands over the curb, diagonal your way across to the exit and go from there. There's a lot of lap time in here, guys. So this is very important. You've also got the driver tools that you can play with. Let me show you in Baku is probably a good example of this. Max Verstappen. Yeah, you guys saw the Baku analysis where everything kept flashing up on the steering wheel and I was like, hang on, what's going on here? This is Max changing for different parts of the racetrack, but I want to find the corner where, yeah, this one. This one's slightly uphill and starts to go over a little bit of a crest as well. This is turn 11 in Baku and it's not heaps off camber, a little bit, but it's mainly the crest situation. There is tendency for oversteering this corner, but what I want to call out to you guys, there's a change that's happening as well. So depending on what you get with your line and your turn in and whatever, and you want more rotation, go for your driver tools. That's my second call out for you guys. And then car setup as well. Center of gravity as low as possible. Remember that, like, if I've got, do I still have my, I don't have it anymore. But like, if we're a man over here, looking at turn 13 like that, and you see this apex here and then the track fall away, remember that it's the roll that's the problem. The steering is a weight management tool. So if you can put your center of gravity a little bit lower, you're going to minimize for that cornering force, and therefore, not going to overload the tires as much. So low center of gravity. There's some things you can do with the rear camber as well that Ian was telling me about. So I have to get a little more information of that. But I'm saying all that to say, look, you've got your line, you've got how much you turn, when you turn, the rate that you turn, driver tools, and your car setup as well, which can be helpful. Ben, 13 and 14 are quite early turn-ins, actually. Late turn-ins are awkward for off-camber corners like this. Thanks, Ben. I might have to give you the keys to my channel, mate. Yeah. Very good. Look, man, Martin, will a tight line be faster for turn 13? It's tricky because even the normal later turn in is a tight line. So what doesn't happen is that you find this edge of the racetrack over here. Even with the red line, the later turn in like that is still in a way a tight line. But yes, the green line is, why is it so thick, mate? Thick with 2 C's. The green line, yes, with initiating the turn lane, yes, it is slightly tighter. Yes, you're right. Yes, I'd go with that. The reason is I want to initiate the steering earlier. So that's why. Yeah, so like we said on the whiteboard before, initiate your steering early, load up the front progressively, turn in less, and then you need to take this curb, guys. Very important you take this curb. Remember the diagram that I drew? If I just show you, in section, if you were to stand on your stomach, lie on your stomach and look at this, you'll see the curb and then the track fall away. It's very important that you drive over this curb, therefore. Very important. Because you don't want to feel the effects of that off camber. So this is 22. I think Max does not a bad job in 22 and 23. I think they all do not a bad job here. I'd say this was the best one, 2023. You can actually even see it. Like if you, I don't know, if you can just read this image properly, you can see that getting your left front on this curb is helpful because the track does fall away to the right here. So this is very important. Keep an eye out for this in the pole lap. Whoever gets their left front properly early on this curb and can just straighten the wheel as the corner unfolds on the exit, very helpful. Likewise, in turn 14, have a look at this again, another story. Definitely want to use the curb here with your early turn in. Max nailed it, 2022, perfect. Exactly what I'd be looking for. It just negates the whole off-camber situation. If you want to go around the corner like this, no good. Trust me, guys, no good. It washes you away from the apex and it delays when you can get on throttle. Lando as well, no good. So the best I saw was Max here in 2022.